to the left, Rick.
Back on Patino, your friendship with him, did you reach out to him during the problem he had a couple seasons ago, and did that whole thing change him?
I mean, we had spoken, about it, but you'd probably have to ask him, Rick. That was a hard thing. I felt bad. It wasn't like he and I got into detail about it. My phone calls were more just like, I'm thinking about you, more than anything else.
And does he seem different to you now on the other side of it?
To me, he's always the same. He really is. He's always the same with me. It's great when I see him, spend time with him. He's been great to my family, to my parents. Obviously playing and having Richard on my staff, it was a different kind of dynamic. So he's always been the same with me, and how much he's changed from that. He's probably the best guy to ask on that.
Way in the back.
Paul Rogers from Louisville Radio again. One of the things that maybe helps Gorky Zhang is the surprise element. Maybe guys say he can't get from there to here to block my shot. Having faced Anthony Davis 3 times, does that maybe give you guys a little better idea of what they're up against?
Oh, I don't think there's any question. That's the one thing that makes Davis, in my opinion, so great is exactly what you said. There are plays that you think you can get shots off around the basket, and you realize you can't, and it takes time to adjust to that. And he is, Michigan State's obviously a huge basketball team physically. I mean, he blocked 7 shots last night. So our guys at least have gone through some of that with Anthony Davis, and we've got to be smart. It doesn't mean you can't do anything at the basket, but if you're going in there and he's got angles and position to jump up there and really alter the shot, it's probably not a really good decision because he, like I said earlier, really anchors the back of that defense, and he understands what shots to chase and go after and what shots not to chase.
In the back.
Coach, how much of an impact could it be now that Richard's with their staff? Assistance was with you now there. How much of an impact could that be?
Oh, I think it'll be somewhat of an impact, but, I think our team is a little bit different than it was a year ago. We had Parsons and Macklin, Tyus. Philosophy-wise, there's going to be some things that, Richard already knows. But I think the guys are going to have to go out there and play and execute and do what they need to do. Certainly Richard's very familiar with our personnel. He's on our staff, coached a lot of those guys. How much of an impact that's going to make, I don't know. I think our guys got to go out there and play and perform. So it's really hard to say.
Any more questions for Coach Donovan? Take another one here in the front.
Billy, how many of your current players did Richard recruit or help recruit?
Well, I mean that incoming freshman class with Prather and Larson, round for Patrick Young. He was on the staff with those guys. Before he left, he was on the staff with Brad Beal. So Casey, Patrick, Cody, Scotty, he was around for a lot of those guys, and he was a part of helping recruit a lot of those guys.
In the back.
Billy, can you talk about the importance of Brad and Casey's ability to shot block off the weak side with kind of Pat and Murph trying to avoid foul trouble?
Yeah, Casey's got really good athleticism, and sometimes when he's out of a play, he can bring himself back in a play. He's had a couple good blocks for us. I wouldn't classify Brad or him shot blockers. It's not something we need to do. Eric actually has been fairly decent at blocking shots when he's got good position. But those blocks that those guys get were probably more based on their own individual talent and athleticism.
In the back, on the aisle.
Coach Pitino has referred to one of his players, Russ Smith, even at times this year, uncontrollable. When you watch him with all that he can do, what do you see when you're scouting a player like that?
I'm not sure who's. I didn't quite understand.
Russ Smith.
Yep.
When you're seeing him, sometimes it's spur of the moment. He comes, he does incredible things, and it's just all over the place. When you scout him, what do you see out of Russ Smith?
Well, you see a very talented player that's very aggressive, appears to have great confidence in himself. I think that's one of Coach Pitino's things that he always does. He instills confidence. I think when you're instilling confidence, there's always a balance, of good shot, good pass, bad pass, good decision, bad decision. Those things always, I think, are constantly evolving as you, are coaching a guy. But he's certainly a guy that's more than capable of getting 20 points, 25 points in any given game.
Anything else for Coach?
Billy, I know there's this reputation that you and Rick love to push the ball and shoot threes and things. What's the importance of being able to adapt to your players? Because I know over the past, there have been times where you've thrown some of that out the window instead of just trying to impose your will on everything.
I think you have to make adjustments and changes to your personnel. I think if, what I do and what we do offensively is totally different than what I did with Noah, Horford, and Brewer. And what I did with those guys is totally different than I did with Bonner and David Lee. What I'm doing now is different than what I did with Macklin, Tyus, and Parsons. I think you have to adjust to your personnel. You can play out of concepts and do different things, but I think you have to constantly keep trying to evolve based on your personnel. To give your chance and to become difficult to guard and hard to guard, you want to try to be able to do that.
One final question, Rick.
Sorry, it's a two-part question. Buzz said you're going to the Hall of Fame for sure, and then you would coach 10 more years after that. I'd like to hear your reaction to that. And also, what did Pitino used to yell at you when you were a player? What was he on you about the most?
Well, that one's easy. He would tell Delray Brooks and I that we were the best impersonators of a sieve with our defense at the top of the zone at Providence, that everything went by us and through us. That's obviously kind of Buzz to say. I don't know any of that stuff. I love coaching. I love our team. I love the game. If something like that ever happened, it would be a tremendous accomplishment. I'd be very grateful and certainly thrilled by it. But I think Buzz, was obviously being very kind and appreciate his comments.
So what would it take for you to quit?
For me to quit? I think when I didn't enjoy it, when I didn't enjoy, coming to practice, didn't enjoy the struggle, the grind, those kind of things. I think if the passion starts to go, I think as time goes on, doing this now nearly 25 years, you learn, you grow. I'm different today than I was 20 years ago, or 15 or 10, but I still love the game. I still love going on the court. I still really love the game of basketball. And I think if I ever got to a point where that passion kind of left me, I think I'm the kind of person that would say, you know what, it's time for me maybe to take a break, move on, take on something else. Because I'd have a hard time knowing the way I was in the past, sitting in that chair, having to look myself in the mirror, knowing that, you know what, I'm just kind of faking this right now, and I really don't have that fire. And I think once that maybe starts to go, you'll probably realize it's time to move on.
Coach, thank you.
Thank you.